When Margaret knocked on my door 3 months ago holding a plate of homemade brownies, I thought I'd found the perfect neighbor. She was warm, friendly, and offered to help whenever I needed it. So when she asked for a spare key, just in case of emergencies, I handed it over without a second thought. That key gave her access to everything. My home, my closet, my mail, my identity. And by the time I discovered what she'd been doing, she'd already stolen $47,000 in my name. My name is Jennifer Caldwell. I'm 45 years old, and I live in a quiet neighborhood in North Pasadena. I got divorced 3 years ago, and my daughter Emma is away at college in San Diego. So it's just me here, in this lovely little house, completely alone. Or I was until Margaret came along. It all started at the end of May. I was planting rose bushes in my garden, loving the smell of soil on my hands. The California sun warmed my back, and a gentle breeze caressed my hair. That's when the front door of the house next door opened, and I saw her for the first time. She was about 50 years old, average height, with curly brown hair, a round face, and a friendly smile. She wore a pink cardigan and jeans. She was carrying a tray and walked straight toward me. "Hello," she said, her voice sweet and welcoming. "I'm Margaret Finley. I think I'm your new neighbor. I moved in yesterday." I stood up, wiping my hands on my pants. "Jennifer Caldwell. Welcome. I didn't know you'd moved in." "Yes, everything happened so fast," Margaret said, extending the tray. "I brought you some homemade brownies. I thought we should start our neighborly relationship on a sweet note." I took the tray. The brownies were still warm, and the chocolate smell reached my nose. "That's so kind of you. Would you like to come in? I'll make some coffee." "Oh, that would be wonderful." Margaret's eyes lit up. "But I see you don't have gloves on. I don't want to bother you." No, I need a break anyway." "Come on in." I brought her inside. Margaret scanned the interior with her eyes, taking in every detail. "What a beautiful home you have. Your decorating is so elegant." "Thank you," I said, heading to the kitchen. I completely redecorated after my divorce. It was like a fresh start. "You're divorced?" Margaret settled comfortably on the living room couch, as if she'd been sitting there for years. "Me too. 2 years ago. That's why I decided to move here. Clean slate, you know." I started the coffee maker and turned to her. "I understand. It's hard but liberating, isn't it?" "Absolutely," Margaret said, smiling. "Do you have any children?" "Yes, Emma. She's at college in San Diego." "You?" "No, I never had children." Margaret's smile faded slightly. "I always wanted them, but it didn't happen. That's why I try to build close relationships with my neighbors. Like family, you know." Something softened inside me. A lonely woman, starting over, looking for friendship. Just like me. "This is a great neighborhood," I said, pouring 2 cups of coffee. "The people are wonderful. We have monthly neighborhood meetings." "That sounds amazing." We sat and talked for a few hours that day. Margaret told me about her old job. She'd been an office manager, now retired. She told me her divorce story. Her husband had cheated on her. They'd split their assets. She'd moved here from the other side of California. It all sounded so familiar. It was like listening to my own story. "Jennifer," Margaret said as she was leaving, "I'm really happy. I was nervous about moving here, but meeting you made everything easier." "I'm happy to, Margaret. If you need anything, don't hesitate to knock on my door." "You do the same," she said, waving as she left. That night as I went to bed, I thought I'd done something good. I'd made a new friend. Maybe my loneliness would ease a little. If only I'd known how wrong I was. Over the next few weeks, Margaret and I became close friends. She came over for coffee a few times a week, and I went to her house. We'd go grocery shopping together, help each other with yard work, sit and watch TV in the evenings. She felt like a friend I'd known for years. Margaret was always thoughtful. Once when I was down with the flu, she brought me chicken soup. Another time when my car was in the shop, she drove me everywhere. She helped me pick out a birthday gift for Emma. She was always there, always helpful, always smiling. "You're an angel, Margaret," I'd said one evening over wine. "I'm so lucky you came into my life." "No, Jennifer, I'm the lucky one," she'd said, squeezing my hand. "You're like family to me. Real family." My heart warmed. I wouldn't want to disappoint her. So at the end of June, before I went on vacation, it seemed perfectly logical to give her a spare key. Margaret, I'd said, handing her the key, I'm going to Santa Barbara next week. I'm meeting Emma. We'll stay a few days. If anything happens, in case of emergency, keep this key. You might need to water the plants or the mailbox might get full. Margaret had taken the key like it was a sacred trust. Jennifer, this is such a big show of confidence. Are you sure? I'm sure. I trust you. I promise. I'll be worthy of this, Margaret had said, her eyes shining. Your home will be safe. Everything will be fine. And I believed her. Completely, without doubt, blindly. That week in Santa Barbara was wonderful. Emma and I walked on the beach, tried beautiful restaurants, had mother-daughter talks. I hadn't felt this relaxed since the divorce. Margaret sent a message every day saying everything was fine. She'd watered the plants, collected the mail, reported that the house was clean and secure. Don't worry, Jennifer. Everything's under control. Her last message read, with a smiley emoji. When I got home, Margaret greeted me. My house was spotless. The plants were watered. The mail was neatly stacked on the table. Everything was perfect. Margaret, you're amazing, I said, hugging her. I don't know what I'd do without you. My pleasure, sweetheart, she'd said. I'm always here for you. I treated her to coffee and showed her photos from the trip. We sat late into the evening, laughing, talking. The key was still with her, but it didn't matter. I trusted her. It took me a few weeks to realize something was wrong. It was mid-July, a hot California day. I was at home, paying bills on my computer. I opened my credit card statement and froze. I just sat there at the table, staring at the screen, trying to understand. There were charges I didn't recognize. Nordstrom for $890, Sephora for $456, Macy's for $1,200, Target for $670. Total, $3,216 just last month. I hadn't made these purchases. None of them. My hand trembled. I grabbed my phone and called the bank's customer service. A kind woman's voice answered. Chase Bank, how may I help you? Hello, I said, my voice cracking. There are charges on my credit card that I don't recognize. I didn't make them. I understand, ma'am. Can we first verify that you're the account holder? I gave my identification information, said the last 4 digits of my social security number, gave my date of birth. The woman was typing something. Miss Caldwell, these charges were made at stores in Pasadena. In your area. I know, but I didn't make them. Could someone have stolen my card? Do you have your card? I checked my wallet. The card was there. Yes, it's here. Then someone may have obtained your card number. Or made a copy of your card. We'll send you a new card now, and we'll investigate these charges. You'll need to fill out a formal dispute form. How long will that take? Usually 30 to 60 days. In the meantime, we'll freeze these charges temporarily. After I hung up, I felt uneasy. How could someone have copied my card? Where? When? I hadn't done much outside in the last month. Grocery store, a few restaurants, gas station. All familiar places. A week later, I pulled a letter from my mailbox. It was from Macy's. When I opened the envelope, my heart jumped to my throat. It was an account statement, and my balance was $4,780. I didn't have a Macy's card. I'd never had one. My hands shaking, I ran inside, opened my computer, checked my online credit report. What appeared on the screen was like a punch to the stomach. There were 4 different credit cards opened in my name. Macy's, Nordstrom, Target, Best Buy. Total balance, $18,500. I hadn't opened any of them. As I stared at the screen, I struggled to breathe. The room felt like it was spinning. Someone was stealing my identity. Someone was shopping in my name, accumulating debt, ruining my life. But who? Who was doing this? That evening Margaret came over, smiling as usual, with a cake in her hand. I made you lemon cake, sweetie. I know you love it. I looked at her cheerful face, her warm smile, her friendly manner. Should I tell her? Maybe she could help. Maybe she'd seen something, heard something. Margaret, I said, my voice trembling. I'm in trouble. Someone's stealing my identity. Her face immediately became serious.
What?
What do you mean? Credit cards have been opened in my name. Thousands of dollars in debt accumulated. I didn't do it. None of it. Margaret sat next to me, held my hand. Oh my God, Jennifer. That's terrible. What are you going to do? I don't know. I guess I need to go to the police. The banks are investigating, but what? I don't know how it happened. My ID wasn't stolen. My wallet wasn't lost. My credit cards are all with me. How did they do this? Margaret was thoughtful. Maybe something online? A computer virus? Or phone scam? Maybe, I said, but I still had an uneasy feeling inside. Don't worry, Margaret said, rubbing my shoulder. We'll figure this out. I'm here for you. Always. That night when I went to bed, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, thinking about everything. How does identity theft happen? I researched online. There were many methods. Phishing emails, phone scams, dumpster diving for documents, stealing mail.
Mail.
My heart stopped. When I was in Santa Barbara, Margaret had collected my mail. For a few weeks, she had access to my mail. And my house key.
No.
No, that was impossible. Margaret couldn't do such a thing. She was my friend. She'd helped me, brought me chicken soup, made cake.
No.
But I couldn't get this thought out of my head. Was I going crazy? Was I becoming paranoid? The next morning I woke up early and checked my mailbox. There were 2 letters. One was an electric bill, the other from Chase Bank. I examined the envelopes. Both were sealed, untouched. For the next few days, I watched the mail carefully. Every morning I woke up early, checking as soon as the mail arrived. Everything was normal. Nothing was missing. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe Margaret had nothing to do with it. In early August, the bank called. A different representative, this time a male voice. Miss Caldwell, our investigation unit has reviewed your credit card dispute. The charges were made from the Pasadena area, and some are recorded on store cameras. We reviewed the footage. My heart raced. And the footage shows a woman. Middle-aged, brown hair. She's using your credit cards, but it's not you. Can you see the cards? Who it is? Unfortunately, the image quality isn't good enough for facial recognition. But ma'am, this is a serious crime. We'll need a police report. After I hung up, I sat at the table for a long time. A middle-aged woman with brown hair. Could that be Margaret? Or someone else? Margaret didn't come over that evening, for the first time in days. I knocked on her door, no one answered. Her car was in the garage, but the house was silent, dark. Strange. On Sunday, I heard the mail arrive. I ran to the door, opened the box. There was an envelope inside, but it looked odd. It appeared to have been opened, and then resealed. I examined the envelope. It was from Bank of America and contained an approval letter for a new credit card. I hadn't applied for a credit card. Never. My hands trembling, I opened the envelope. Inside was a notification of an approved credit card in the name, Jennifer Caldwell. Limit, $15,000. This time I screamed. I really screamed. The neighbors heard. Mrs. Patterson came running from her yard. Jennifer. What happened? Are you okay? I showed her the letter. It was about to fall from my hand. This isn't me. I didn't apply. Someone's robbing me. Mrs. Patterson was an elderly woman, about 75. She'd lived in the neighborhood for 30 years. She examined the letter, then looked at me. Child, you need to call the police right away. This is a serious matter. I know, but who's doing this?
How?
I don't know, but you need to watch your mail very carefully. Maybe you could install cameras. That day I called the police. 2 officers came, asked me questions, took a report, gave advice. Call the credit bureaus, freeze accounts, cancel new cards, document everything. Ms. Caldwell, the older officer, said, unfortunately identity theft cases are very common and hard to solve. But we'll do what we can. Thank you, I said, but I felt hopeless inside. That evening Margaret came to my door. She had a worried expression on her face. Jennifer, I haven't seen you for a few days. Is everything okay? I looked at her. Really looked. At her face, her eyes, her manner. I was searching for something, a sign, proof. But I only saw a concerned friend. The identity theft is continuing, I said, my voice tired. More cards have been opened in my name. Oh no. Margaret sank into the chair. How is that possible? You're such a careful person. I don't know, Margaret. I don't know. Margaret left that night, but things were churning in my mind.
Mail. Key.
Access. Opportunity. Everything pointed to her, but there was no proof, just suspicion. The next day, I made a decision. I ordered a security camera, positioned to look at the mailbox. If someone was stealing my mail, I'd see it. If it was Margaret, I'd know. The camera arrived on Wednesday. I installed it myself, small, invisible, focused on the mailbox. Recording mode was active. Every morning, I'd check the footage. The first 2 days were normal. The mailman came, dropped off letters, left. Then I came out and got the mail. No one else. On the third day, everything changed. At 9 in the morning, the mailman came and dropped off the letters. I was inside, making coffee in the kitchen. I wasn't watching the camera live, but it was recording. At 10 o'clock, the doorbell rang. When I opened it, I saw Margaret holding a cake, a smile on her face. "Good morning, sweetie. I made you apple pie." "Thank you, Margaret," I said, but my voice was cold. Something was churning inside me. That evening, I checked the camera footage. The mailman had come at 9. I'd opened the door at 10. But something else had happened at 9:32. I looked at the screen, and my heart stopped. Margaret was walking through my yard, approaching the mailbox, looking around, opening the box, taking the letters, examining them, putting one in her pocket, leaving the rest in the box, closing the box, and quickly walking away. All of this happened in 30 seconds. I replayed the video. And again. And again. Every time I saw the same thing. Margaret was stealing my mail, taking letters, accessing my information. Margaret. My friend Margaret. Margaret, who I trusted. My hand trembling, I paused the video. The image on the screen was frozen. Margaret, holding my letter, a guilty expression on her face. It was proof. I finally had proof. But what would I do now? Should I go to the police? Should I confront her? Should I keep gathering evidence? My mind was in chaos. It made me sick. The woman who came with brownies, brought chicken soup, helped me pick out a gift for Emma, was also robbing me. I sat in the living room, in the dark, thinking. Hours passed, but I couldn't shake it. I remembered Margaret's face, her smile, her kind words. Were they all lies? Was it all a plan? Near midnight, I made a decision. I'd gather more evidence. Document everything. Then I'd go to the police, hire a lawyer, take her to court. Margaret did this to me, and I was going to make her pay for it. But what I didn't know was that things were going to get much worse. Because that $47,000 was just the beginning. Margaret's plan went much deeper, and I hadn't discovered anything yet. I woke up early the next morning. I hadn't slept a wink. All night I'd seen Margaret's face, that smile, that fake warmth. I opened my computer and started reviewing the camera footage from the beginning. I went through the entire last 2 weeks of recordings, and what I saw made me sick. Margaret came almost every day, sometimes early in the morning, before the mailman arrived. Sometimes in the afternoon, when I was at work or at the store. She'd open the mailbox, look through the letters, take some, leave others. She was very professional, very practiced, like she'd been doing this for years. One video particularly caught my attention. Last Tuesday at 3 o'clock, while I was at the store, Margaret had taken an envelope from the mailbox, put it in her pocket, and gone straight to her house. But an hour later she'd come back, put the envelope back in the mailbox. The envelope looked like it had been opened and resealed. I felt sick. That envelope was probably a bank letter, a credit card approval, or another financial document. Margaret had read it, copied the information, then put the envelope back. I'd had no idea. I saved the videos to a flash drive. I labeled each one with date and time. Then I sat down and took a deep breath. I had evidence. But was it enough? Was it enough to take Margaret to court? I grabbed the phone and called the police officer I'd spoken to yesterday. He sounded sleepy. "Officer Rodriguez." "Officer, this is Jennifer Caldwell. I filed an identity theft report yesterday." "Ah, yes, I remember." "What happened, Miss Caldwell?" "I found her. I know who did it, and I have proof." His voice suddenly became alert. "Are you serious?" "Who?" "My neighbor, Margaret Finley. I caught her on camera, stealing my mail." I need to see the video. Can you come to the station? Of course. I'll be there in an hour. At the station, Officer Rodriguez and his partner Officer Chin watched the videos. Both looked at the screen with serious expressions. They saw Margaret approach the mailbox, take letters, examine them. This is pretty clear, Officer Chin said. But proving mail theft is easier than proving identity theft. We need to make the connection. What do you mean? I asked. I mean this. Yes, she's stealing your mail. But we need to prove that she's using those letters to open credit cards in your name. Bank records, application forms, signature comparisons are needed. Officer Rodriguez added, first we need to get a search warrant. We need to search Margaret Finley's house, car, belongings. If we find your documents, your credit cards there, the case gets stronger. How long will that take? Judge's approval could take a few days. In the meantime, you gather more evidence. Your bank statements, credit report, all financial damage documentation. The more evidence, the better. When I left the station, my mind was in turmoil. A few days. Margaret would be free for a few more days. A few more days close to me, smiling, bringing cake, lying. Could I stand it? As I was driving home, my cell phone rang. An unfamiliar number. Hello, Ms. Caldwell? This is Victoria Huang, calling from Equifax Credit Bureau. We've detected some suspicious activity on your account. My heart raced. What kind of activity? 6 different credit card applications have been made in the last 2 months. All of them have been approved. There's also a car loan application for $35,000. That's been approved too. Car loan? A car loan? I didn't apply for car loan, I said, my voice trembling. I didn't do any of these. I understand. Then this is an identity theft case. We'll put a fraud alert for you and freeze your account. You also need to notify the other credit bureaus. Experian and TransUnion. What's the total damage? I asked, but I didn't want to hear the answer. The total debt we've detected so far is around $47,000. $47,000. The phone almost fell from my hand. My knees shook. I pulled over to the side of the road, parked the car, put my head on the steering wheel. $47,000. Margaret had stolen $47,000 from me.
How?
How could she have done so much damage in 3 months? I just sat there for a few minutes trying to breathe. Then I grabbed the phone again and called the company that issued the car loan. The customer service representative transferred me to the loans department. Yes, Ms. Caldwell, your record is here. A car loan for $35,000, approved 2 months ago, for a 2023 Honda Accord. I didn't make this application. I didn't take the car, but the application form has your signature. And the vehicle registration is in your name too. What address was the car delivered to? The representative typed for a while. Pasadena, 2847 Maple Street. 2847 Maple Street. Margaret's house. Margaret had bought a car in my name. With my credit. With my signature. And the car was in her garage. You need to seize this car, I said, my voice hard. This is fraud. There's a police investigation. Do you have a police report number? I gave the number. The representative took notes and said they'd escalate the situation to upper management. When I got home, Margaret was waiting at my door. She was holding a cup. Jennifer, I was looking for you. I made coffee, brought you some. I looked at her. That familiar smile on her face. That fake, sweet, lying smile. Anger was boiling inside me, but I had to control myself. Until the police got a search warrant, Margaret couldn't suspect anything. Thank you, Margaret, I said, taking the coffee. You're so thoughtful. Always. How are you? You look better. Did the identity theft issue get resolved? Not yet. But the banks are investigating. I hope they solve it soon. I hope so, Margaret said, squeezing my hand. If there's anything I can help with, tell me. She squeezed my hand. I felt that fake warmth. And at that moment an idea came to me. Actually, Margaret, maybe you can help. Of course. Whatever you want. Do you remember what letters came in the last few months? When I was in Santa Barbara, or other times. Maybe you saw something strange. I saw a moment of hesitation on Margaret's face. Very brief, very small, but I saw it. I don't really remember, she said, averting her eyes. Most looked like bills. Electric, water, normal stuff. Bank letters. Maybe one or two. But I didn't open them, of course. I left them all for you.
Lies.
All lies. I see, I said, trying to smile. Thank you, Margaret. That afternoon, I called a lawyer. Her name was Rachel Thornton, a specialist in identity theft and financial fraud. Her office was in downtown Pasadena in a modern building. Rachel was in her 40s, sharp-looking, trustworthy. She had short black hair, glasses, and a serious expression. I explained the situation, showed the videos, presented my documents. This is a very serious case, Rachel said, looking at the screen. This isn't just mail theft. This is systematic identity theft. Margaret Finley appears to be a professional scammer. Professional?
Yes.
To be able to do this much damage in such a short time requires experience. She's probably done it before. Before? Rachel nodded. We need to investigate. Her old addresses, old neighbors, her past. If there are other victims, it strengthens the case. How do we find them? We'll hire a private investigator. I know a good one. He works on these kinds of cases. His name is Marcus Webb. With your permission, can I call him to look into this? Yes, please. Do whatever's necessary. Rachel grabbed the phone and a few minutes later was talking to a man. They set up an appointment. Marcus Webb would come tomorrow. Driving home, I passed Margaret's house. Her garage door was closed, but I knew. Inside was a Honda Accord bought in my name. My money, my credit, her car. My anger was so great, I was gripping the steering wheel. I was struggling to breathe, but I had to stay calm. I had to plan. If I wanted justice, I had to be smart. The next day, Marcus Webb came. He was about 50, tall, gray-haired, experienced-looking. We sat in my living room, and I told him everything. I understand, Marcus said, writing in his notebook. I'll find out everything about Margaret Finley. Old addresses, work history, financial records, criminal record. Give me a few days. Thank you. As Marcus was leaving, he added, Miss Caldwell, people like this usually don't work alone. If Margaret is a professional scammer, she probably has a network. Be careful. A network? Other people? That evening I started researching Margaret on my computer. I typed Margaret Finley into Google. Hundreds of results came up, but which was she? I added Pasadena. A few results came up. LinkedIn profile, a Facebook account. I opened the Facebook account. In the profile photo, Margaret was smiling in a garden. Friend count was low, only 30 people. Her posts were mostly food recipes and flower photos. Very ordinary, very normal. But one thing caught my attention. Last year, in December, she'd made a post. Moved into my new home in San Jose. New beginnings. San Jose, Northern California. Why had she moved from there to here? And why had she said new beginnings? I dug deeper. I typed Margaret Finley, San Jose into Google. A news article came up. The headline read, San Jose woman accused of identity theft. My heart jumped to my throat. I clicked on the article. San Jose resident Margaret Finley is accused of accumulating $28,000 in debt by stealing neighbor Barbara Chen's identity. Chen claims stolen credit cards and documents were found in Finley's home. The case is still ongoing. I looked at the date. 18 months ago. Margaret had done it before. The same thing, the same method. She'd done it to a woman in San Jose. And when she probably got caught, she'd fled to Pasadena. My hands trembling, I searched more. I typed Margaret Finley Barbara Chen San Jose. More articles came up. One was very interesting. Identity theft case dismissed. Insufficient evidence found. The case had been dismissed. Margaret had gotten away.
How?
I read the article. Barbara Chen couldn't present evidence in court. Margaret had destroyed all the evidence. There was only Chen's word, but that wasn't enough. Margaret was smart. Very smart. And experienced. But I wasn't Barbara Chen. I had videos. I had documents. I had a lawyer. Early the next morning, Marcus Webb called. Miss Caldwell, I found very interesting things. I'm listening. Margaret Finley isn't really Margaret Finley. I mean, that's her legal name, but she's used different names before. Margaret Sullivan, Margaret Davis, even Mary Finch at one point. She's lived in 4 different states in the last 10 years, Arizona, Nevada, Oregon, California. 4 states.
Yes.
And there's suspicious activity in every state. Suspicion of stealing money from a neighbor in Phoenix, credit card fraud in Reno, identity theft in Portland. But no convictions in any cases. Either the cases were dismissed or evidence was insufficient. How has she gotten away so many times? Very careful. She destroys evidence, doesn't leave traces. But this time she made a mistake. She didn't see her camera. Are there other victims? I found at least 5 people. All similar stories. Middle-aged women living alone. Most divorced or widowed. Margaret approaches them, builds friendship, gains trust, then robs them. I felt sick. 5 women. Maybe more. Margaret was a professional predator. And I was her latest prey. Send this information to the lawyer, I said. Rachel Thornton. We'll need all of it. I'm sending it now. I hung up and looked out the window. Margaret's house was visible. It looked calm, normal, innocent. But a monster lived inside. That afternoon, Rachel called. Jennifer, the information Marcus found is incredible. This woman is a serial criminal. The judge will definitely issue a search warrant. Maybe today or tomorrow. How long will the search take? A few hours. The police will examine everything. Computer, phone, documents, belongings. They'll take everything in your name. The car? Yes, the car too. If it's registered in your name, it'll be seized. That night, I couldn't sleep. I waited for morning. The police were coming. Margaret's house would be searched. The truth would come out. The next morning at 9 o'clock, there was a knock on the door. It was Officer Rodriguez and Officer Chen. 2 more officers were behind them. Ms. Caldwell, we got the search warrant. We're going to Margaret Finley's house now. Would you like to come? Yes, I would. We all walked to Margaret's door together. Officer Rodriguez knocked. A minute later, Margaret answered. She was in her bathrobe, her hair messy, looking confused. Officer? What's happening? Margaret Finley, we have authorization to search your home on suspicion of mail theft and identity fraud. Margaret looked at me. Her face went white as chalk. I saw fear in her eyes. And then, for a moment, anger. Jennifer? Yes, Margaret.
Me.
The officers went inside. Margaret tried to resist, but there was nothing she could do. There was a search warrant. It was a legal procedure. I stood at the door, watching. The officers were turning the house upside down. Closets, drawers, tables, everywhere was being searched. 15 minutes later, Officer Chen came with a box. Inside were documents, credit cards, checks. Ms. Caldwell, look at these. I examined the box. Inside were credit cards opened in my name. Ones that hadn't been used yet. There were also practice papers imitating my signature. Pages full of Jennifer Caldwell signatures. I felt sick. Officer Rodriguez came from the garage. We found the car. Honda Accord, registered to Jennifer Caldwell. Margaret was sitting in the living room, her head in her hands. She wasn't crying, just sitting there silently. Margaret Finley, Officer Rodriguez said, taking out handcuffs. You're under arrest for mail theft, identity fraud, and credit card fraud. Margaret stood up. She looked at me. There were no more tears in her eyes. Just a cold expression. You're going to regret this, Jennifer. No, Margaret, I said, my voice calm. You're the one who's going to regret it. I watched as they took her away. The police car drove down the street. Neighbors were looking out their windows. Margaret Finley, the perfect neighbor, was being taken away in handcuffs. That evening, Rachel called. Jennifer, great news. The evidence the police found is tremendous. Margaret's computer has all the records. Copies of applications she made in your name, websites she used, everything. Will she be convicted? Absolutely. With this much evidence, it's impossible for her to be acquitted. Also, the old victims Marcus found can testify. Margaret will serve a long prison sentence. How long? At least 5 years. Maybe more. I hung up and took a deep breath. It was over. Margaret had been caught. Justice would be served. But one thing still bothered me. Margaret had said to me, "You're going to regret this."
Why?
Did she have another plan? Or was it just an empty threat? A few days later, Marcus Webb called again. Ms. Caldwell, I found something else. I examined Margaret's bank accounts. And The $47,000 she stole from you isn't in the account. What do you mean it's not there? The money has been transferred to other accounts. Different names, different banks. I'm trying to trace it, but it's complicated. So, I won't get the money back? It won't be easy. But Rachel and I are working on it. Maybe we can get it back with a court order. My hopes were dashed. Margaret had been caught, but my money was lost. $47,000. But at least the truth had come out. And Margaret wouldn't be able to do this to other women anymore. That night when I went to bed, I slept soundly for the first time in 3 months. Margaret was gone. She wouldn't come to my door with brownies anymore, wouldn't offer fake smiles, wouldn't steal my mail. But this story wasn't over yet, because the court process would be long. And Margaret's words still echoed in my mind. You're going to regret this, Jennifer. What had she meant? I would find out soon. Because Margaret had one more partner. And that partner was still out there. 3 days after Margaret's arrest, the harassment began. The first message came at 6 in the morning. My phone rang, an unfamiliar number. I didn't answer. They left a voicemail. Jennifer Caldwell, we know what you did to Margaret. There will be consequences. The voice sounded mechanical, altered. Impossible to tell if it was male or female. My heart raced. I immediately called Officer Rodriguez and reported the message. We'll try to trace the number, he said. But it's probably a burner phone. These types of criminals try not to leave traces. Could it be Margaret's partner? Likely. Marcus Webb was examining her other account activities, right? Maybe the partner will surface too. I couldn't go to work that day. I sat at home, startling at every sound. In the afternoon, a second message came, this time written. Going to the police won't save you. You be wise to keep your mouth shut. My hands trembled. Who was sending these? And what did they want? I called Rachel Thornton. My voice was cracking. Rachel, someone's threatening me. What kind of threats? I read the messages. Rachel took a deep breath. Jennifer, this is very serious. We need to report this to the police immediately. We can request a restraining order. Restraining order from whom? We don't know who's doing it. Tell Marcus. Maybe he can examine Margaret's phone records. We can find out who she was talking to. Marcus Webb came that same day. He looked serious. Ms. Caldwell, I got Margaret's phone records. There are 3 numbers she called most in the last 2 months. One is your number. Another is a pizza restaurant. The third is a number in Oakland. Oakland? Who? A man named Thomas Grayson. 48 years old, prior criminal record. Fraud, forgery, identity theft. He served 3 years in prison 10 years ago. My heart jumped to my throat. Margaret's partner. Probably. Margaret and he talked several times a day. Long calls. And the last call was made an hour before Margaret was arrested. Margaret warned him.
Yes.
And now Thomas Grayson is probably seeking revenge. Is he going to kill me? Marcus shook his head. I don't think so. More of a scare tactic. They're trying to silence you. But you still need to be careful. Lock your doors. Keep the security system on. Don't open the door for anyone. Sitting alone at home that night was a nightmare. Every sound, every shadow, every movement scared me. I kept the lights on, set the alarm, my phone in my hand, ready to call 911. Around 2 in the morning, I heard a car. I looked out the window. A black sedan was moving slowly down the street. It stopped in front of my house. No one got out. It just waited. 10 minutes. 20 minutes. 30 minutes. Then the car slowly drove away. The next morning, my trash cans had been knocked over. Garbage was scattered across my yard. On my door, written in red spray paint, "Shut up." I called the police. Officer Chun came, took photos, filed a report. "We'll apply for a restraining order," she said. But the problem is, how do we get a restraining order against Thomas Grayson? We don't have definitive proof yet, but he was constantly talking to Margaret. That's not a crime. They could be friends. We need evidence. We need to prove the threat messages came from him, that he came to your house, that he did the vandalism. How do I prove that? You have cameras. Maybe you caught something. I checked the camera footage. At 2 in the morning, the black sedan appeared. The license plate wasn't visible, it was too dark. But I noticed something. In the driver's seat was a male silhouette. He appeared to have long hair and a beard. At 6 in the morning, there was another image. Someone in a hoodie came, knocked over the trash cans, spray painted the door, then ran away. The face wasn't visible, but from the build it was clearly a man. I sent the footage to Marcus. "This is probably Thomas Grayson," he said on the phone. "But the face isn't clear. We can't use it in court. We need clearer evidence. What can I do?" Two options. First, wait and hope Grayson makes a mistake. Second, set a trap. A trap. Jennifer Caldwell, middle-aged, divorced, quiet woman, setting a trap for a criminal? But I had no other choice. Thomas Grayson was trying to scare me. Trying to silence me. If I didn't do something, maybe he'd go even further. "What kind of trap?" I asked. Marcus thought. "We'll make Grayson think you're alone at home. Maybe he'll try to break in. Then we'll catch him on camera." "Try to break in? That's too dangerous. We'll alert the police beforehand. They'll wait at the house. The moment Grayson tries to enter, he'll be arrested. What if he has a gun? There's risk, but the officers are trained. They'll protect you." I thought about it. Fear and determination battled inside me. Then I thought of Emma. If Thomas Grayson could silence me, Margaret could get away. Justice wouldn't be served. And other women could become victims. "Let's do it," I said. "Let's set the trap." We spent the next 2 days preparing the plan. Officers Rodriguez and Chen were involved. They put the house under surveillance. Plainclothes officers would wait in neighboring houses. I would make the house look empty, turn lights on and off at specific times, take my car out of the garage, and pretend to go shopping. Friday evening, we put the plan into action. At 7, I left with my car, went to the store, walked around for half an hour, came home. I opened the garage, parked the car, turned on the lights. At 8, I turned on the bedroom light. At 8:30, I turned off the living room. At 9, I turned off the bedroom. It looked like someone sleeping at home, but actually I was in the living room, in the dark with the police. Officers Rodriguez and Chin sat on the couch. I was in an armchair. Everyone had walkie-talkies. 11 o'clock came. 11. Midnight. Nothing happened. Maybe Grayson wouldn't come. Maybe the plan wouldn't work. By 1 o'clock, I'd almost lost hope. But then Officer Chen's walkie-talkie crackled. Black sedan entered the street, moving slowly. My heart raced. Rodriguez stood up, checked his weapon. "Stay calm, Miss Caldwell. We're here." The sedan stopped in front of my house. The engine was running. 1 minute, 2 minutes. Then the engine shut off. The door opened. A man got out, tall, wearing a black hooded sweatshirt, jeans. His face wasn't visible. He looked around. The street was silent. Then he walked toward my yard. Chin spoke into the walkie-talkie. Target entered the yard. "Wait." The man approached the side door. He pulled something from his pocket. A lockpick. He started forcing the door.
"Now,"
Rodriguez said. The plainclothes officers outside sprang into action. They came from the backyard, from the front door, from everywhere. Flashlights turned on. "Police! Put your hands up." The man froze. Then he tried to run. But it was too late. 3 officers jumped on him, knocked him to the ground, handcuffed him. "Thomas Grayson, you're under arrest for trespassing and making threats." We turned on the lights. I opened the door. The officers brought the man inside. They removed the hood. He was a man with long brown hair, a beard, about 45 years old. Anger burned in his eyes. "Jennifer Caldwell," he growled. "Margaret was right. You're a total bitch." "Quiet," Officer Chin said. "You have the right to remain silent." I watched as they took Thomas Grayson away. He was handcuffed, angry but caught. Margaret's partner was caught. The next morning Rachel called. Her voice was excited. "Jennifer, amazing news. Thomas Grayson was interrogated. And he confessed." "What?" "Yes. He confessed to partnering with Margaret. He said they did identity theft together in different cities in California. He admitted they split the money they stole. He confessed to taking half of your $47,000. Where did he put the money?" "Offshore account. Cayman Islands. But we can seize the account with a court order. You can get back at least part of your money." For the first time in 3 months, I felt hopeful. The money could come back. Justice could be served. What does Margaret say? Her lawyer prefers to remain silent. But Grayson's confession implicates her too. It's now clear she's not just a lone scammer, but part of an organized gang. Her sentence will be much heavier. The court date was set for October. 3 months away. For 3 months we'd prepare. Evidence would be gathered. Witnesses would be called. Cases would be built. But in early September, something unexpected happened. A call came from Margaret's lawyer. They were offering a plea bargain. A deal. What kind of deal? I asked Rachel. Margaret will plead guilty to all charges. In exchange, they want a sentence reduction. Instead of going to trial, she'll be found guilty and receive a prison sentence. But the sentence will be lighter. How much lighter? 3 years instead of 5. 3 years. Margaret would only serve 3 years? After what she did to me and other women. No, I said. I don't accept. Jennifer, if the deal is accepted, your chances of getting the money back increase. Margaret will be forced to disclose her assets. If we fight in court, it could take years. I don't care. That woman will get out in 3 years and do the same thing to someone else.
No.
We're going to trial. Rachel took a deep breath. I understand. Then let's prepare. Because Margaret's lawyer is very good. They'll fight. October came.
Court day.
I stood in front of the Los Angeles County Courthouse. It was a large, grand building. I climbed the steps, went inside, passed through security. Rachel was with me. Emma had flown in to support me. Marcus Webb was there too. Officers Rodriguez and Chen would come as witnesses. The courtroom was 3B, 3rd floor. We took the elevator up. When the door opened, I saw Margaret. She was wearing an orange prison uniform. Her hair was pulled back. Her face was pale. She'd lost weight. She sat next to her lawyer, talking about something. She saw me. Her eyes narrowed. Then she looked away. The judge entered. Everyone stood up. Your Honor, the case of People of California versus Margaret Finley. Please be seated. The judge was an elderly man, about 65, serious, experienced. He looked at us over his glasses. MS. Finley, you've heard the charges. How do you plead? Margaret stood up.
Her voice was weak.
Not guilty, Your Honor. Emma squeezed my hand. She's lying, she whispered. The trial began. The prosecutor read the charges. Mail theft, identity fraud, credit card fraud, organized crime. A total of 12 separate charges. Witnesses came.
First me.
I was sworn in and told my story. Meeting Margaret, giving her the key, discovering the identity theft, the camera footage. Margaret's lawyer, Mr. Pearson, objected. Your Honor, Ms. Caldwell's camera footage could be manipulated. There's no facial recognition, no definitive proof. But then Marcus Webb came to the witness stand. He told Margaret's history. 4 states, 5 victims, 10 years of fraud career. Then the former victims came. Barbara Chen from San Jose. Caroline Miller from Phoenix. Denise Harper from Portland. They all told the same story. Margaret built friendship, gained trust, robbed them. The jury listened. 12 people, serious faces, notebooks. Then the evidence was presented. Documents from Margaret's house. Credit cards in my name. Signature practice sheets. Computer records. The prosecutor projected a file on the screen. It came from Margaret's computer. This is a draft of credit card applications made in Jennifer Caldwell's name. Date, June 15th. 1 week before Margaret Finley was arrested. Mr. Pearson jumped up. Objection. This computer file hasn't been proven to belong to Margaret Finley. Your Honor, the prosecutor said, our computer expert extracted this file from the hard drive. The timestamp, IP address, everything belongs to Margaret Finley. The judge nodded. Objection overruled. Continue. The trial lasted 3 days. Every day, new evidence, new witnesses, new objections. At the end of the 3rd day, the jury withdrew. They would make a decision. We waited. In the courthouse corridor, Emma brought coffee. Rachel was answering phones. I sat, my hands trembling. 2 hours later, the jury returned. We all went back into the courtroom. The judge asked, has the jury reached a verdict? The jury foreman stood up. She was an elderly woman. Yes, Your Honor. Please read it. On the charge of mail theft, we find Margaret Finley guilty. My heart raced. On the charge of identity fraud, we find Margaret Finley guilty. On the charge of credit card fraud, we find Margaret Finley guilty. 12 charges. 12 times guilty. Margaret collapsed. She put her head in her hands. The judge struck the gavel. Margaret Finley, you have been found guilty by the jury on all charges. Sentencing will be held in 2 weeks. The courtroom stood up. Emma hugged me. Rachel was smiling. Marcus shook hands. You did it, Miss Caldwell, he said. Justice has been served. 2 weeks later, we went to the sentencing hearing. The judge looked at the verdict, looked at Margaret, then spoke. Margaret Finley, you are a professional scammer. For years you've exploited innocent people. You gained trust and shattered that trust. This court sentences you to 8 years in prison. You will also pay a total of $120,000 in restitution to the victims. 8 years. Margaret would serve 8 years in prison. Thomas Grayson was also tried in a separate case. He also got 6 years. As I was leaving the courthouse, the sun hit my face. It was warm, bright, clean. Emma linked arms with me. I'm proud of you, Mom. You're so brave. Thank you, sweetheart. Rachel came up to us. Jennifer, the process to recover the money from the Cayman account has started. Within a few months, at least part of your money will be returned to you. How much? Probably $30,000. The rest is lost, but at least we can save part of it. $30,000. 30 out of 47. $17,000 lost. But at least not all of it. And Margaret was in prison. For 8 years, she wouldn't be able to harm other women. That evening when I got home, for the first time in 6 months, I breathed easily. I sat on the couch, drank coffee, looked out the window. Margaret's house was still there, but now it was empty. A for sale sign was in the yard. The doorbell rang. When I opened it, I saw Mrs. Patterson holding a tray. Jennifer dear, I made you apple pie. I heard you won the trial. Congratulations. I smiled. Thank you, Mrs. Patterson. Would you like to come in? We sat in the living room, ate pie, talked. It was normal neighborly conversation. Real friendship. I would never blindly trust anyone again. But I wouldn't be completely distrustful either. Life was balance. People were complex. Some good, some bad, some both. Margaret was bad, but I had won. And now it was time to look to the future. Because this battle was over, but life went on. And I, Jennifer Caldwell, was a strong woman. I'd stood up against the injustice done to me. I'd achieved justice. No one could take that away from me. But the story wasn't quite over yet. Because even while in prison, Margaret had one last card to play. And that card would surface very soon. 6 weeks after Margaret's conviction, on a cold November morning, I found a strange envelope in my mailbox. It was handwritten. There was no return address. Uneasiness filled me. I opened the envelope. A single piece of paper came out. Jennifer, you think you've won. But the game isn't over yet. I have an insurance policy. And I'll be using it soon. The nice thing about writing letters from prison is that no one can track them.
See you soon.
M. My hands trembled. Margaret. She'd written from prison. And she was threatening me. Insurance policy? What did she mean? I immediately called Rachel. I read the letter. This counts as a threat, Rachel said. We need to report it to prison authorities. Margaret's mail privileges can be restricted. But what does she mean? What insurance policy? I don't know. But tell Marcus. Maybe Margaret has a plan we haven't discovered yet. When Marcus Webb came, he was worried. MS. Caldwell, professional scammers like Margaret always have a plan B. They prepare for the possibility of getting caught. What kind of preparation? Hidden money, fake identities, crime partners. Or information. Information.
Yes.
Maybe she collected information that could compromise you or others. Blackmail material. My stomach turned. What kind of information could she have about me? I don't know. But she had access to your home, right? Your computer, your documents, everything. Maybe she copied something. That night, I couldn't sleep. What did Margaret know? What had she collected? And how would she use it? 3 days later the answer came. But from an unexpected place. Emma called. Her voice was panicked. Mom, someone hacked my Instagram account. What?
Yes.
I can't get into my profile. And now strange messages have been sent from my account. To my friends, to their friends, to everyone. What kind of messages? About you. Your personal information. Mom, it's so embarrassing. My heart stopped. What did they write? Emma lowered her voice. Things about your past. Divorce details. Financial problems. Private things. Mom, how did they know these? Margaret. Margaret knew these things. They were information she'd collected at my home. And now she was using Emma to embarrass me. Emma, take back the account. Change the password. Delete everything. I'll handle this. After I hung up, I put my head in my hands. Margaret was in prison, but still could attack.
How?
Who was helping her? I called Marcus. The situation was urgent. Marcus, Margaret is using someone from prison. They hacked my daughter's social media account. She could have another partner outside. Someone besides Thomas Grayson. I'll investigate. The next day, Marcus found it. He'd examined Margaret's prison phone records. 2 numbers stood out. One was her lawyer, legal. The other was a woman in Oakland. Her name was Lisa Brennan. Who is Lisa Brennan? I asked. Thomas Grayson's ex-girlfriend. 38 years old, computer expert, has a criminal record. Cyber fraud. Is she the one hacking? Probably. Margaret gives her instructions, she does it. How do we stop her? Police can question Lisa Brennan. But we need proof first. If we can identify the IP address, we can catch her. We examined the hack history of Emma's Instagram account. The IP address belonged to a coffee shop in Oakland. We requested camera footage. An image of a woman appeared, short black hair, glasses, sitting with her laptop. Lisa Brennan. We went to the police. Officer Rodriguez reviewed the file. This is enough. We'll bring in Lisa Brennan. 2 days later, Lisa was arrested. In a search of her home, Emma's account information, copies of my personal documents, and email correspondence with Margaret were found. Margaret had instructed Lisa from prison. Destroyed Jennifer Caldwell. Her daughter, her reputation, everything. But Lisa had been caught. The plan had fallen through. Lisa Brennan received a 1-year prison sentence in court and a 5-year computer ban. 2 years were added to Margaret's sentence. 10 years total. Now Margaret was truly finished. In December, Rachel called with great news. Jennifer, the Cayman account has been resolved. Your money is being returned. How much? Exactly $32,500. We initially said $30,000, but they found a bit more. $32,500. 32.5 out of 47. Still 14,500 lost, but most of it was coming back. Also, Rachel said, the court has seized Margaret's assets. Her car, furniture, jewelry will be sold. Your and other victims' restitution will be paid. You'll probably get back around $40,000 total. $40,000. Almost all of it. For the first time in 9 months, I breathed easily. The money was coming back. Justice had been served. Margaret would serve 10 years in prison. But most importantly, I had survived. I'd grown stronger. And now I could help others. In January, I made a decision. I would start a support group to help identity theft victims. I would organize weekly meetings at the Pasadena Community Center. 5 people came to the first meeting. They all told similar stories. They'd been scammed, identity information stolen, money lost. They felt fear, helplessness, anger. I know how you feel, I told them. I went through the same thing. But I can tell you, you can win this battle. Justice is possible. You are strong. I told my story. From meeting Margaret to her arrest, from court to victory, everything. They listened, asked questions, took notes. How did you start? A woman asked. Her name was Patricia. What was the first step? I installed a camera, I said. I gathered evidence. And I got professional help. Lawyer, investigator, police. I didn't try to do it alone. Those who can afford it, said another woman young in her 20s. I can't hire a lawyer.
There's legal aid, I said.
Free legal help. Also, many lawyers do the first consultation for free. And police help requires no fee at all. All you have to do is file a report. Every week, the group grew. From 5 people to 10. From 10 to 20. Stories were shared. Advice given. Support provided. In February, a local newspaper noticed us. A reporter came, did an interview, wrote an article. The headline read, "Pasadena Woman Organizes Community Against Identity Thieves." After the article was published, more people came. Not just women, men too. Elderly, young, people from different backgrounds. All fighting the same problem. In March, I got a call from a television station. Local ABC station. They were inviting me to their program. They had a segment called Community Heroes, telling extraordinary stories of ordinary people. Going on live television was scary, but I accepted. Emma came with me for support. The studio was bright, hot, crowded. The host was a young woman. Her name was Melissa Chin. She was cheerful, professional. "We have a very special guest with us today," she said to the camera. Jennifer Caldwell from Pasadena. Her neighbor committed identity theft against her. She lost $47,000, but she didn't give up. She fought, caught the criminal, and now she's helping other victims. Welcome, Jennifer. Thank you, Melissa. I told my story on television to thousands of people. Margaret, Thomas, Lisa, the trial, the victory, everything. What was your hardest moment? Melissa asked. When I learned that Margaret had entered my home, stolen my documents, lived with my name, I said, that someone I trusted used me so ruthlessly. It was devastating. But you didn't give up.
No.
Because I believed in justice. And I wanted to be an example to my daughter, Emma. I wanted to show her that women are strong, can fight, can win. Emma was sitting in the corner of the studio, her eyes tearful. After the show aired, my life changed. People recognized me, greeted me on the street, thanked me. Emails started coming from different parts of the country. Similar stories, requests for help, messages of support. In April, I made a big decision. I would establish a nonprofit organization, Identity Shield Foundation. We would provide free legal consultation, psychological support, and education to identity theft victims. Rachel Thornton joined the board. Marcus Webb became an advisor. Emma became volunteer coordinator. Even Mrs. Patterson helped with accounting. In May, we held the foundation's official opening. We organized a small ceremony in front of Pasadena City Hall. The mayor gave a speech, local TV stations came, newspapers wrote. Jennifer Caldwell's story shows us, the mayor said, that we can stand alone against evil. We can fight for justice. And we can help others. This foundation is her legacy. Legacy. My legacy. Margaret had tried to destroy me, but I'd built something stronger than her. When June came, a full year had passed. A year since I met Margaret. And how much had changed. Now I was giving talks about identity theft. Schools, community centers, libraries invited me. I was teaching people how to protect themselves. Never, ever give anyone your house key, I would say. Even if you trust them. Even if it's your neighbor. Even if it's a family member. If you're going to leave an emergency key, keep it in a locked box, in a third location. Check your mail every day. Track whether letters are missing. If bank statements, credit card bills don't arrive, there's a problem. Check your credit report at least once a year. It's free. You can get it from annualcreditreport.com. And most importantly, trust your instincts. If something feels strange, it probably is. People listened, took notes, asked questions. And at the end, they thanked me. "Ms. Caldwell, you're saving lives," an elderly woman said after a meeting. "If it weren't for this information, I could have been scammed too." These moments, these thanks, were my greatest reward. In July, on our first anniversary, the foundation published its first annual report. We'd helped 160 people. A total of $380,000 recovered, 12 criminals caught. 12 families found justice. Emma's eyes shone as she read the report. "Mom, look what you've done. It's all because of you." "No, sweetheart," I said. "It's because of all of us. Rachel, Marcus, the police officers, the volunteers. It's teamwork. But you started it. You weren't afraid. You fought." She was right. I had fought. And I had won. In August, Margaret had a parole hearing. After 10 years, she could apply for early release. But I would be there. I would object. I went to the hearing. Margaret had been in prison for 10 months. 9 years remained. She'd lost weight, aged, faded. Her lawyer spoke. "My client is remorseful.
She's changed.
She's showing good behavior. She deserves early release. Then I was given the floor. Your Honor, I said, standing up. Margaret Finley lied, stole, deceived for 10 years. She destroyed the lives of at least 5 women. She destroyed my life. She targeted my daughter. She attacked even from prison. This woman isn't remorseful. She's just sorry she got caught. She should not be released early. The judge nodded. Application denied. Margaret Finley will serve her full sentence. Margaret looked at me. I saw hatred in her eyes. But I didn't care. She couldn't affect me anymore. When September came, my life had returned to normal. A new normal. I wasn't naive anymore, but I wasn't paranoid either. I was careful, but not closed off. I was strong but kind. The foundation continued to grow. We opened a second office, this time in downtown Los Angeles. More lawyers, more advisors, more volunteers. Emma graduated from San Diego. She found a job in Los Angeles, close to the foundation. She came and volunteered once a week. Mom, she said one evening over dinner, I love you so much. And I'm so proud of you. You're my hero. My eyes welled up. You're my hero too, sweetheart. In October, exactly 1 year after Margaret's conviction, we organized an event. Identity Theft Awareness Day. Hundreds of people came. Speakers, workshops, information booths. I spoke too. In the big hall with a microphone to hundreds of people. 1 year ago today, I said, Margaret Finley was convicted. What she did to me was terrible, but what she taught me was valuable. Never give up. Never stay silent. Never abandon justice. If you've also been a victim of identity theft, know that you're not alone. Millions of people experience this problem. But don't stay silent. Don't be afraid. Fight. Go to the police. Hire a lawyer. Gather evidence. Use the system. The system is sometimes slow, sometimes hard. But it works. Justice is possible. And most importantly, believe in yourself. You are strong. You are valuable. You can win. Applause rose. People stood up. Emma came on stage next to me, hugged me. That night driving home, sitting in the car quietly, I looked back. 18 months ago, Margaret had come to my door with brownies. 18 months ago, I'd given her a key. 18 months ago, I was a naive, trusting, vulnerable woman. Now I was different, wiser, stronger, more careful. But I was still kind, still hopeful, still believed in people. Because Margaret was bad, but the world wasn't full of Margarets. Most people were well-intentioned. Most people wanted to help, like Mrs. Patterson, like Rachel, like Marcus, like Emma. And I, Jennifer Caldwell, was no longer a victim. I was a survivor, a warrior, a leader. Margaret had tried to destroy me, but I'd created something stronger than her. A community, a movement, a change. And this was my victory. Today, as I share this story with you, my heart is at peace. Because I know some of you are experiencing similar situations. You feel scammed, betrayed, devastated. But I want to tell you, you can do it too. You can fight too. You can win too. The first step is the hardest. Fear, shame, helplessness paralyze you. But take that first step. Go to the police. Tell a friend. Ask for help. The second step is easier. Make a plan. Gather evidence. Get professional help. The third step gives power. Take action.
Fight.
Don't give up. And the fourth step liberates.
Win.
See justice. Take back your life. I did it. You can do it too. Remember, you're strong. You are valuable. You are worthy. And justice always, definitely finds its place. Believe me. Believe in yourself. And never, ever give up. Thank you so much for listening to my story to the end. If you learned something from this story, were affected, found hope, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. That way we can reach more people, change more lives. Write in the comments what city you're watching from and what time it is right now. I love seeing wonderful people listening to me from different corners of the world. If you'd like to support a bit more, you can also send a small donation. All proceeds go to the Identity Shield Foundation and help identity theft victims. I share new life stories for you every day. My two most popular stories will appear on the screen now. You can choose one and watch it. Thank you again for following me, listening to my stories, being part of this community. Remember, you are strong. You are amazing. And life has very beautiful things in store for you. See you in the next story.